Well, Merry Christmas to you. This is the final installment in the Guns of Die Hard series. This is actually unexpected. I recorded the MP5 video and I talked about the fact that I didn't have access to Hans Gruber's gun, the H&K P7. His was actually the M13, the 13-round version. And then a buddy of mine, Chris, shout out to you, Chris, he messaged me and said, hey, I've got access to a P7 if you want to get it. And so I got it, and here it is, the H&K P7. This is not an exact replica of the weapon used by Hans Gruber in the movie. He has the 13-round double stack version. I believe it's even a threaded barrel for a suppressor at some point. But let's get into this gun. I have not had an opportunity, disclaimer, okay? I have not had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with it. In fact, just for scheduling reasons and to get this video out, I only have one range trip and I have about 50 rounds in it. So this is not an all-encompassing review of it or history, but it was given to me to review. I am giving it back. I am borrowing it. I'm not keeping it. So I figured, you know what, I need to get some time on it and get it out there because it's so cool just to be able to shoot this gun and shoot the guns of the movies. So I'm not Forgotten Weapons, so I don't have the full history. I've watched his video on the P7 a couple times and he goes into some crazy detail about moving, you know, the mag catch, all the different deals on it. So I am not that guy. I'm just going to tell you, after 50 rounds of shooting this gun and spending some time with it in a range, I'll tell you right now, it is very cool from a historical standpoint, but completely, and I'm going to piss off a lot of HK guys right now, this is not a gun I would carry or shoot ever for any reason, if that makes sense. So if I had some time, I'd get out in a suit and, you know, do a whole cool intro. Didn't have time for that. But after spending some time with it, this is not what I would consider to be a super useful gun. This is definitely a cool gun for your collection. But if you're carrying with one of these, I'm going to wonder what's wrong with you for a couple of reasons. So getting into it, the P7, or the PSP is what HK called it internally, the Patrol Service Pistol or something like that. You know I'm terrible with acronyms. So they submitted this in Germany along with a SIG and some other guns for selection for the police force to have, and some of the military to have, a new handgun. And this was chosen along with one of the other SIGs. I think it was, they called it the P8 or the P6, one of the Ps before that. But it is a single stack 9x19 striker fired pistol, but there's some real interesting things. So we're going to start at the bottom of the gun and start with the magazine. And this is probably detriment number one to it, and that is the fact that it's a single stack 8-round magazine. So from a Western standpoint, and I know this is from a standpoint of a dude who carries 1911s, okay? But 8 rounds of 9mm just doesn't really make sense to me in this platform for a couple of reasons. So single stack mag goes into the mag well, and it's actually canted at an angle, so the magazine's kind of straight up and down, but the grip goes forward. It's got a normal, I don't know the degrees, but like 110 degree grip angle. So that allows the mags to feed, but when you insert the magazine, if you were going to insert it, I don't want to get it on the video here, if you were going to insert it like you would expect it to go, it's going to get in there and get hung up. So the magazine actually goes in straight up and down where the grip is angled. So when you go to try to do quick reloads, they're going to be really slow for two reasons. One, the mag angle, and number two, there is no mag release or mag catch up here at your thumb like you'd normally expect. It is a butt mag catch, mag release down at the bottom. So that's just super weird. Now moving up, you have this amazing grip strength trainer right here, and this is actually part of the firing mechanism. So this is an internal safetyless striker fired, I'd almost call it like, it's like a double action, single action. It's really odd how they did this, and I understand what they were going for, getting around the need for internal safeties and drop safeties. But what happens is when you grip the gun, the front of the grip here, you pull it in and you're actually cocking the gun most of the way. So on a striker fire gun like a Glock, normally when you rack the slide, let me do that real quick with the mag out. when you rack the slide, you have now cocked it. On this gun, racking the slide doesn't do anything. The trigger is still dead. So what you have to do is pull this grip module in, and then this little nipple pops out the back to tell you that it's ready to go. And then you can get up on the trigger, and it makes it a supposedly a lighter trigger, but I measured it out. It's still right at 4 pounds, so it's not amazingly lighter than a Glock at like 4.5, 5 pounds. But the idea was that this is going to take up a lot of that slack, and then you only have to pull the trigger. So shooting this gun is a two-step process. Grip it, and then pull the trigger. So the grip part here, this is one of those strength trainers. Like, if I could show you, someone who shoots this all the time is going to have some forearm grip strength. It's probably only, 10 pounds of pressure, but to keep that constant squeeze on a lot is very unusual to have to do, and it definitely took some getting used to at the range. So pull this in, and then you can pull the trigger. Now the reset is also very interesting, and you have to let the trigger all the way out. There we go. It just reset, and there's actually not such a tactile click because the reset isn't necessarily resetting the striker. It's just barely moving. I think it's the disconnector out of the way. So it is very quiet, and I'll tell you, in my range time, in 50 rounds, there were many times where I was not hitting the reset all the way, and I would pull the trigger, nothing would happen, and I have to let the trigger all the way back out. Now, another cool feature, though, of this firing mechanism is you can shoot it two ways. You can either pull the grip in and then, pull the trigger, and then every time the slide goes off, it's going to, the slide cycles, it's going to recock it as long as you keep the grip safety in and it's ready to go. Here's something else cool. You can just hold the trigger in, and every time you pull this grip safety in, it's going to go off. So I don't know why you would want to do that, but it's kind of a cool little feature there. But I would say all of that stuff is kitschy and funky and cool and HK, but also really weird and doesn't make sense. But when it comes up to the top side of this gun, there is something inside of here that is very, very cool, and that's the fact that this is it's a gas piston delayed blowback pistol. So what that means is it's not a direct blowback where the action of the round pushing against the slide is what's causing the slide to eject and then getting another one to feed. There's actually a gas port drilled at the bottom of the barrel and at the bottom of the chamber. So when the bullet leaves, the gas goes down, it pushes on a piston, and that piston is what pushes the slide back and causes it to eject the round and chamber a new one. So I will tell you, with all of its quirkiness, this slide action is buttery smooth when you're shooting it. But the round is going out, and then the slide, it doesn't unlock. So it has no locking lugs. The slide just moves straight back and goes straight forward. And it's just an incredibly smooth process. So the quirkiness on the bottom end is almost offset by the coolness on the top end of this gun. So all in all, very cool to shoot. This is the 8-round version. Hans used the 13-round. And funny enough, if you watch the Netflix documentary, The Movies That Made Us, they had to teach Alan Rickman how to hold a gun because he was sitting there holding it like this when he was shooting the guy at Nakatomi Plaza, and the gun wouldn't work. So he had to learn how to hold the gun. He still kind of held it like this in the movie. I don't know how you would be able to do that and squeeze a round off with this. So overall, a very cool gun to be able to own, and it's definitely something that you're going to get for history. It's like the Steyr AUG. I don't see a actual place for it in modern gun usage still. It's not something that I would carry or even really shoot regularly, except like, hey man, here, try this out, it's kind of cool. But from a historical standpoint and the fact that it's Hans Gruber's gun, very, very cool. So thank you, Chris, and thank you for Chris's buddy who actually loaned the gun to me to check out, and maybe at another time we'll be able to make some cool footage of it.